All right, welcome back, everyone. Sean with BlueRidgeSilverhound. Hopefully, you guys are having a wonderful day. So this video is in response to a comment that I had on one of my videos, actually a very old one, where I talked about the prospect of buying already graded coins and making money off of them by simply regrading them. I want to take some time to elaborate on that because there was this individual had quite a few questions, couldn't quite grasp how any of this can happen, and even kind of pointed out to PCGS and NGC as their grading kind of systems and processes are inconsistent. And not at all, what I would expect, to come from this. Sure, that's a very valid reason because, these coins are graded by the same companies. All right, so when you have one grade of, say, a mid-state 60, I'm just kind of throwing that out there for a specific coin, and I'm telling folks, sometimes these coins are undergraded. You could go and buy these coins, crack them out, and then resend them back to PCGS or NGC. That whole premise kind of gets lost. And that's why there's a lot of talk and a lot of people throwing these grading companies under the bus, because it appears like that there's some inconsistency to the grading. Why would they grade it now a mid-state 62 when it was a mid-state 60 in the first place? But I think if we deep dive, and we're looking into some of the coins that you can find and buy, all right, it's not as if I'm telling you to go and buy a coin that's been graded in a modern holder. All right, we have to look at just the overall scope of different slabs and styles that we've seen from the same company over the course of the many years that they've been operating under. Like, for example, the coins that you see here on eBay, these are all called PCGS rattler holders. The reason why that they're called that is that the coins weren't sealed correctly in the holders. So you could literally shake the holder, you could hear the rattling of the coin slapping up against the edge ring of that slab holder inner piece. And that's how it got its namesake. All right. So, here's an example right here, this 1856 Flying Eagle cent. Look at the holder. This is unlike anything that you see today. All right, this is yesteryear stuff. This is stuff from when was it? In the 80s or whenever these coins were graded, where they were in these rattler holders. And then throughout time, they have a rattler type 2, and you can actually see the full kind of portfolio of the different slabs that were used throughout time on PCGS's website. All right, I don't know if NGC has one similar to that, but again, same idea. It's been talked about on numerous occasions, whether it's here on YouTube or on forum chat pages or on Facebook and all that stuff, that these older holder coins were graded during a day where it was a lot more strict, right? The grading was a lot more strict. They didn't easily hand out, some of the marquee grades that you see today. All right. Now, were they a little bit too strict? Again, that seems to be kind of the argument going around out there, is that, they were being way too hard on the grading scale in comparison to what the actual reality is. So there's this perception versus reality conversation when it comes to grading, and I can't even believe I'm saying that, but it's true. So what people are doing, to kind of recap, what I said in that previous video, is that people are buying coins in these old original holders from a time period where they were a lot more strictly graded. And what they'll do is they'll look at the coins. Okay, it always helps that, and eBay is kind of like one of those big marketplaces where you would expect to find these coins in large quantities. It's kind of like this big breeding pool of coins that you could just examine. You could literally spend all afternoon going through every single PCGS rattler, provided that the actual images of the coins are suitable enough where you're able to kind of pick apart the grade. Like, for instance, this coin right here, this 1873 shield nickel pattern that grades out proof 64. Well, just a general look of the coin, it appears to have a cameo frost contrast. Why didn't they put that on the holder? Did they even designate cameo and deep cameo designations on pattern coins back in the day? Again, these are all kind of like some of the information that you need to know about, so that way you can effectively do grade flipping. And that's why I call it grade flipping, because there are people that'll pay $22,000 for a coin. They'll crack it out of this old original holder, and there is some debate on keeping the coins in the original holder because they're worth more in there. But they're worth more because of what? Because they're undergraded by a point or two. Again, the conversation could go full circle, and people have lost sleep over it, unfortunately. But they'll crack out the coin out of the holder, they'll resubmit it back to PCGS, and have it graded in a new current generation holder, and then, go for that cameo or deep cameo contrast. Now, what's that going to do to the value? Well, let's say, and this is just hypothetical, because again, I don't know if the grading companies actually designate cameo and deep cameo contrast on pattern coins. Let's say, for instance, that they did put deep cameo on this new holder. What's that going to do to the value? Maybe they'll even bump up the grade to a proof 65. Cameo or deep cameo. Would that take a coin that's $22,000 in this holder and maybe possibly make it worth $28,000? Those are some of the questions that we have to kind of dig down deeper. Now, pattern coins aren't necessarily my bread and butter. I feel less comfortable talking about pattern coins than I do some of the kind of like the regular US type coins that we're used to seeing. So with that being said, I already pre-picked a coin that we're going to research. I thought at first, I'm like, this 1893 CC looks like a really good candidate. It's a very tough date. The 1890s, any kind of like branch mint coin, extremely popular. They're very expensive. And dealers are always asking a lot more money than what their actual market value is. But rightfully so. Within the last 2 years, we've just seen a huge increase in demand and less supply of these particular type key coins. The reason why I did not pick this for kind of like our lesson is it's got a CAC sticker. That's again another bit to this conversation that we're going to dive into, because the CAC sticker, if you're able to get one of those on your coin, will actually bump the overall value of the coins between 10 and 20%, sometimes higher. All right, the green, what I like to call the base CAC sticker, is huge. All right, and then there is also a gold CAC sticker. If you're able to get a gold CAC sticker, you're going to 2x the value of that coin. In the perfect world, that's where we want to be. So instead, we're going to focus on an actually, very tough date, 1883S, PCGS Mint State 63, OGH Rattler. So OGH is original green holder. Normally OGH isn't used in conjunction with Rattler, even though it does kind of apply. There is a later generation of PCGS holder that is coined as being an OGH, all right? This one right here says Frosty Blast White, Silver Morgan Dollar, so they're asking $5,500, buy it now. So let's go ahead and take a look at this coin, because I feel like it represents really great images that we're able to kind of, just really check and see if this is a candidate for purchase with cracking out, resending it to PCGS, and then possibly going for that CAC sticker, all right? And then we're just going to kind of talk a little bit about, where does the money kind of fit in profitability-wise, and that's the big reason why people do this. People do this as like a side gig, all right? We're in the middle of summer right now. People are are flipping these old rattlers and OGHs and doilies for serious money. You know, they're making anywhere from like a few $100s a coin to as high as $10, $15, $20,000 a coin. I mean, it's kind of like the quick, easiest way to turn a profit. Okay, and again, I'm going to stress this: if and only if you are familiarized with the Sheldon scale, what coins are supposed to look like in their respective grades. Because if you just go in there and say, oh, I'm going to buy the first Rattler holder I can afford, okay, it doesn't necessarily mean that every single coin in a Rattler holder is undergraded. I've seen some pretty crappy looking coins that are actually overgraded in Rattler holders. So that same thing still applies. As long as there's still the human element to grading, there's going to be mistakes along the way. Coins are going to be overgraded. Coins are going to be undergraded. This is something that you got to know before you do this. So this is like a really awesome candidate, all right? I kind of like the look of this coin, but, you know, this one is already graded as a Mid-State 63 in this Rattler holder, all right? So there's the actual coin. When we get in close, so with a Mid-State 63, the fields have to be somewhat clean, all right? And you could get away with things like all the chatter that you see on Liberty's cheek. You know, and then you just kind of look around. You got to make sure the coin is free from major dings on the edge and on the reeds. All right, you got to check the middle of the design, make sure there's no big kind of distracting nicks and marks. You know, so this one right here is actually quite a clean coin on the obverse. When we look at the reverse of the coin, okay, you got to look at both sides of the coin. You can't automatically assume that if a coin looks good on the front. Now, keep in mind, the grade of a coin is generally heavily weighed by what is on the obverse. So the reverse can have more scratches than the obverse, and it would still be okay. But again, same thing. You're looking at the coin in its totality, both the obverse, the reverse. You're even looking at the edge. Because if you have a really big rim bump, you know, you might get a details grade off of it. That could be construed as damaged. But again, you know, make note of all of the little kind of like scratches, nicks, and bag marks in the field, on the letters, on the main centralized figures of the coin. And, you know, that's what you're going to go by. Now, if you know your Sheldon scale, okay, and this is where going on PCGS's website is going to be important, so that way you can look at the photo grade for other examples. How does this differentiate between the 63 that you see here printed on this Rattler and maybe a Mid-State 64? Because, you know, you want to look to enhance the grade that's at any one part of it, right? You're not looking to laterally move to the left or right. You don't want to go into this and then not make any money at all. You don't want to lose. You don't want to make money. But you don't want to be in that position where you're not making money, because first of all, this is $5,500. You're going to be tying up this money into this venture. All right? Unless you know it's a shoe-in and you're like, man, that thing's like undergraded by 1 to 2 points. Unless you're 100% sure, all right, you should really be more discerning when it comes to the grading part of this. Because $5,500, again, if that's kind of like your budget for doing this flipping gig, you're putting all your eggs in one basket, and that in essence is a kind of a crapshoot. You know, you're really rolling the dice, because let's say this coin back, you get this coin back from PCGS in a new holder, and guess what? They didn't do anything with the grade. They assigned a 63 of that Morgan dollar in the newer holder. Guess what? Let's say make the coin worth even less, because it's out of the vintage PCGS Rattler holder, and now it's in a newer holder, which means the grader from 1985 or whenever this was graded was spot on in its analysis. So you want to be absolutely 100% sure that you're able to achieve that. Now you can kind of help yourself along and send the coin out to CAC, which is Coin Acceptance Certification. They audit the actual grading company's assessment of the coin, and if they say that this coin is indeed the 63, then they're going to put their green sticker on there. If they think it's overgraded, they're not putting a sticker on there, and that's where you can get into some trouble. So when we look at 1883s, okay, we're looking at this mid-state 63. We're in the PCGS price guide website. So they have a value of $3,250, all right? Now keep in mind, this coin is $5,500. They've already attached a pretty substantial premium for the coin because it's in a rattler holder. When we look at recent sales here in this little chart below this, we've seen that a coin sold on Stack's Bauer's website a few months ago, April 22nd to be exact, or April of 2022, for $4,800. Now, this is important information because, you know, you've realized that a coin, similar coin, had sold for $4,800, all right, which gives you some kind of like wiggle room to maybe negotiate a deal on that coin that you want to buy. But also, when you have this kind of sale, it tells you a little bit about what the market is doing right now. Okay, the market is at its peak, which is scary. All right, is this something that's going to continue on down the line through the holidays and into 2023? That's the big question. But go ahead and also examine some of the other sales of higher grades, like a 63 plus, which plus designation is really tough to get on its own. You can't really honestly go into grading hoping for a plus designation. It's kind of like a half a point bump. But look at 64s. That's realistically where you want to be. But me personally, after looking at that coin and that rattler holder, I don't think it's going to grade 64. However, where I do see some opportunity, and this may not be enough to do the deal, is that if you bought it at $5,500 and if you sent the coin in its existing rattler holder to CAC and they give it a green bean, you're going to do okay. You're going to come close to probably making a few $100s if that. Again, it's not going to be enough to really do the deal because you're tying up over $5,500 in the process. You still have to pay for shipping. In that case, it's going to be expensive because you will most certainly have to send it registered mail. It's an expensive service. It's going to end up costing you probably about $50 to send just that one coin. So you have to do the math. You have to jot it down, line it onto a sheet of paper, so that way you could see the cost of each part of this process. Because if you don't do that, you're going to lose money. All right, and then, you know, at the end, it's going to hit you like a big surprise because you're like, man, I thought I could do this. I ended up losing $300. And, you know, at the end of the day, you don't want to do that because you don't want to feel discouraged. You don't want to, as a result, get out of doing this. You know, like, you know, I'm not going to do it anymore because I lost a lot of money doing this because BlueRidgeSilverhound said so. This video exists as a clarification tool for a lot of people that want to do this. And if you have, you know, that extra amount of income, this, again, can represent a really awesome way of making money. But you have to be good. You have to be deliberate. You have to know what you're looking for. You have to be well educated before you could dive into something like this. The graders are okay with handing out grades such as mid-state 64 and 65. That's not a big deal to them, but it has to show up as such with those coins. All right. So, you know, that's the 83S. This is an incredibly tough date. It's the one single solitary San Francisco minted Morgan dollar of the early 1880s that is quite scarce. All right, 82S, 80S, 81S, 84S even are all quite available in this particular grade for about $100 or less. It's that pesky 83S that is quite tight. It's like the 1903 Morgan dollar. Most people don't realize that's a key. That's a key, you know, key date. You know, that coin in this condition here is about $1,000. So, yeah, there you go. So the next coin we're going to look at, now this is a list of OGHs. So this is what it looks like. It's got the old holders. They got a different hologram on the back that is nothing like what you see on today's graded coins. This one right here looks a lot more like the holder that you see today, only they have a much older label. Some of them come actually a little discolored, like this little kind of like silicone ring that holds the coin in place will discolor. All right, you will probably come across some of those if you're an avid hunter of these type of things. You'll see those quite often. So the coin we're going to focus on is actually the coin, the number one coin that we see here. And I actually went with price plus shipping being at the highest. You know, we're going to look at this coin here for $38,750. Now that's a lot of money, man. That's like going out and paying cash for a new car, you know. And again, you have to be absolutely deliberate. You have to know exactly what you're looking for before you untap, you know, this particular purchase into your project. So let's go ahead and take a little bit closer look at this coin. So $38,750. Wow, that's a lot of money for this. And I have a feeling that the seller has a pretty stiff premium on this coin because either they figure it's a little bit undergraded or because the market is still really wild on key dates that they've put a big, huge premium on this particular coin that you see here. But you could check this out. They have it as a mid-state 61. Old green holder, 1889 CC, which is a key date for the Morgan series in 61. But I'll be honest with you, that coin looks a lot better than 61. We do see a little bit of chatter in the fields in front of Liberty's face, okay, which is quite okay and quite normal. But for the most part, the cheek is pretty clean. There's no really deep digs or scratches or bag marks. You know, it's just got a little bit of, you know, rub on there. But for the most part, this is a very clean coin for a 61. I've seen much worse coins that have graded higher. But check out the reverse. The fields are really clean on this one. Now, if the graders were swaying the overall final grade of a coin based off of what they see on the obverse, you know, as the weight of that grade, this one right here might even actually get a little bit of a bump because the back of it's so undeniably clean. So, you know, I'll look at something like this and I'll say, like, you know what, this thing could probably bump up to a 62, all right, in a current holder. And it, you know, it might have an outside shot as 63. So, you know, these are things that I have to think about in my mind, but I can't take my word for it. I actually have to do research. I have to look at other similar coins that have graded in a 62 and a 63 and kind of pair them together. You want to make sure that the grades are, or the coin condition and grades are very similar, comparable to each other. All right, and you're going to find a lot of the information again on PCGS's website. This is information on this coin right here, 1889 CC, $1. All right, so we're going to go right straight down to this little graph information, this chart right here. So the coin in question is a 61. They have a value of $35,000. Okay, again, we don't really pay attention to this, but it's more of a benchmark for the folks that do have the coin. But go ahead and take a look at some of the previous sales. The most recent sale was on Stax Bowers Galleries, April 2022, same as the previous coin we looked at, in the amount of $33,600. All right. And if we look here, you know, Heritage Auctions has had one November of 2021 for $28,800. There was also another one August of last year that was kind of like the height of the collectibles market, $50,000. I mean, the prices are all over the place for the last few examples that have hit the marketplace. And this could be a little bit of a concern because let's say you were really truly interested in this particular coin. I could probably tell you, and it's not going to be a rocket scientist type of, you know, a kind of hypothesis here, but I probably don't want to pay $38,750 for it. But hey, maybe I'll want to contact the seller and say, hey, based off of the previous sales of the same coin, all right, we have $33,600 here. But also look at Mint State 62, which is a higher grade than the coin that's on eBay at $33,501. This one was sold on David Lawrence. So the prices are virtually the same, but one grade point higher difference from one to the other. So I would probably feel a lot more confidently if I went into this conversation and say, hey, using the data that I've pulled up, and you can even link it in the message that you're sending to this dealer right here, Very PQ. Say, I really want this coin, but based off of the last couple sales, this has sold for $33,000 and some change. Can you meet me around there? All right? Because what you want to do to make it worthwhile for you to make that big paycheck at the end of this transaction is you have to get the coin down as cheap as you can, so that way you have a lot more wiggle room in the event that something happens. All right? The coin is not cleaned or details because it's in an OGH holder and it's lustrous and it looks good. But let's say, you sent this out to PCGS and a newer holder, it comes back at 61. And then what? All right, it's not going to leave you with too many exit strategies here, except maybe to send it to CAC, get that back, and then break even. All right, and we're talking $40,000 is what you're going to be tying up on this transaction, because you will have to pay tax. You got to figure you got to pay tax on this item right here. It's a lot of money. And again, you have to be extremely deliberate. You have to not worry about saying no. If things get too kind of like funny and you have that funny feeling in the back of your throat, in your head, just gyrating through your body, there's no problem with stopping the transaction. Because if they're dead set on 38.7, that is the most ridiculous amount of money that I would pay on this coin. All right? There's market uncertainties right now. Okay? There's no guarantee that this is going to be a $38,000 coin a year from now. What if this thing drops down to 30? All right, then 38 really won't be worth it. But you have to put yourself in a position where you're saving your money in all of this. Okay, don't get into a situation where you're gonna lose $5,000. Don't do that. But you would have to be 63 money for it to feel safe, and it has to come back as a 63. That particular coin, I don't know. I'm a little indifferent on. It's close. Again, PCGS has no problem handing out 62, 63, and 64 grades on these type of coins. It's only when you kind of like touch the sky a little bit and you get to like this level here, it jumps from 65 plus to 68. Look at the price difference. Insane. Crazy price. I mean, the pops are one apiece, and that's why that's the type of grade. If you're looking to look for these older holdered coins, you want to try and stay a little bit medium on it. You want to be like right here. Maybe the coins are like $5,000, $10,000. Maybe they're $20,000. You don't want to be at the very top of what that coin is and try and squeeze the blood out of a turnip so that way you could hit that top pop. That's not what this is about. You want to be able to make a baby step. You want to go from a 61 to a 62. You want to be able to go from a 63 to a 64. But stay away from those ridiculously low top pop kind of grades. You don't want to enter that arena because the money is just way too insane. Now, before we close up this video, hopefully you guys got a little bit of a takeaway. Again, not for the faint at heart. If you're going to make the kind of money that people make, you got to buy the bigger coins. Sure, you could go out and buy coins that are worth $400 to $500 and old rattler holders and stuff like that. But it's going to take a lot longer to realize bigger profits from those smaller dollar kind of coins. I've always found $2,500 to $5,000 a relatively safe, more economical kind of price range for doing something like this. This is not something that you have your last like $100 to $200 in and you're like, I'm going to do it. No, you probably don't want to do that, because again, it's about justifying the shipping charges. It's justifying the insurance fees, the grading submission fees. If you're going to send it to CAC, there's also that. So it could get very expensive. And then don't forget, when you buy these coins online, there is also that matter of tax. Unless you live in a state with no sales tax, oftentimes, that's only going to be a few of you guys out there. Oregon, Delaware, and a few other states, have zero sales tax. But, when for everybody else, you have to figure in that extra 5%, 7%, 9%, whatever it is in there, because that's part of the top line of the coins. So hopefully I didn't lose you guys. This is exactly the type of things that people are doing when they have the capital ready to go. These folks are making tens of thousands of dollars doing this. That's why we're seeing, especially today, we're seeing less rattler holders. We're seeing less doily holders out there for sale today, is that people are proactively doing this and doing it very well. All right. So that's what I wanted to talk about. Sorry to make the video so long, but this needed some like really over-explanating kind of educational stuff that I'm sure you're not going to see from anywhere else on YouTube. I'm your host, Sean, with Blue Ridge Silverhound. It sure was a pleasure to talk about this today. Definitely a more advanced skill, but one that pays huge dividends if you want it to. Thank you guys again. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Hit that bell for instant notifications. And, of course, I will see you guys on the next coin video. So long.